You know that one person who never posts? No stories, no photo dumps, no captions explaining how grateful, blessed, or happy they are. They don't announce birthdays. They don't document vacations. They don't post motivational quotes at 2 a.m. They might be your friend. They might be someone you follow. They might be you. In a world where everyone is constantly uploading proof that they exist, this person leaves no trail. And that makes them stand out more than anyone else. At first glance, it's easy to assume something is wrong. Maybe they're antisocial. Maybe they're insecure. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe they don't have anything interesting going on. But what if that assumption is completely backwards? What if, while everyone else is busy proving they're enjoying their life, they're actually enjoying it? What if the absence of post isn't a lack of life, but evidence of one? This video isn't about hating social media. It's not about quitting the internet or deleting your accounts. It's about understanding a group of people most of us misunderstand. The people who don't post. The people who stay quiet. The people who stepped off the stage. Because there's a reason some people stop sharing, and it has nothing to do with fear.
Let me ask you something. When was the last time you posted on social media? Now think carefully. When was the last time you almost posted, but didn't? You opened the camera, you took the photo, maybe you even wrote the caption, and then you stopped. That moment matters more than the post itself, because in that pause, your brain runs a silent calculation. Will people like this? Does this make me look successful enough? Happy enough? Interesting enough? Is this worth sharing with people I haven't spoken to in years, but somehow still care about their opinion? That hesitation isn't random. It's the moment where life stops being lived and starts being evaluated. Somewhere between opening the camera and pressing share, your experience turns into content. And once that happens, the moment isn't just yours anymore. It belongs to the audience. The people who don't post didn't miss this moment. They noticed it, and they quietly chose something else. A long time before social media existed, a sociologist named Irving Goffman had a theory. He said that human beings are performers. We wear different masks depending on where we are. One mask for work, one mask for family, one mask for friends. This isn't fake, it's survival. But social media didn't invent this behavior. It amplified it. It took something natural and placed it on a global stage. A stage with no curtains, no intermissions, no forgetting. On social media, your performance is permanent. One awkward post doesn't disappear. One bad caption doesn't fade with time. It stays there, waiting for someone to scroll back, waiting to be judged in a different era by a different version of you. So when someone decides not to post, they're not failing at social media. They're opting out of permanent performance. They're saying, I don't want my past self constantly evaluated by strangers. That's not weakness. That's awareness. Here's something most people don't realize. About 30 to 40% of social media users rarely or never post. Researchers call them lurkers. It's an unfortunate word. It sounds creepy, like they're hiding, watching from the shadows. But psychological research tells a very different story. Studies published in journals like Frontiers in Psychology show that when people experience constant comparison, fear of judgment, privacy concerns, social pressure to perform, their brain doesn't shut down. It protects itself. Posting requires emotional labor. It requires confidence. It requires resilience to judgment. When the cost becomes too high, the mind chooses observation over exposure. So these people aren't disengaged, they're conserving energy. Watching quietly becomes a form of self-defense.
Comparison is the invisible tax of social media. You're living a normal Tuesday afternoon. Someone else is celebrating an engagement. Another person just got promoted. Another is posting a perfect sunset from somewhere beautiful. You know it's curated. You know it's selective. You know it's not the full story. And yet, your brain reacts anyway. Because your subconscious doesn't care about context. It doesn't care about filters. It doesn't care about editing. It just registers one message. They have more than me. This reaction happens automatically, even when you're emotionally intelligent, even when you're self-aware. That's why scrolling can leave you tired instead of inspired. The people who don't post reduce their exposure to this constant psychological attack. Not because they're weak, because they understand the game is rigged. Why compete in a race where everyone controls the camera, the lighting, and the narrative? Psychologists talk about something called self-determination theory. It says humans thrive when three basic needs are met: autonomy, competence, relatedness. In simple terms, we feel best when we feel in control of our choices, we feel capable, we feel genuinely connected. Social media quietly undermines autonomy. It encourages you to measure your value through reactions, likes, comments, shares. When your confidence depends on feedback, it's no longer yours. People who don't post protect that boundary. They don't need strangers to confirm their worth. They don't need numbers to validate their experiences. Their confidence comes from inside, not from an algorithm. That's not antisocial behavior. That's psychological independence. There's a common stereotype that people who don't post are unhappy, but observe them in real life. They're often calm, grounded, present. They laugh easily. They listen closely. They're not distracted by documenting every moment. That's because they're living experiences, not converting them into content. There's a reason some people avoid Instagram and TikTok but binge long YouTube videos. YouTube doesn't demand performance. No one notices if you don't comment. No one tracks your absence. It's consumption without pressure, connection without exposure. They found a loophole. Another pattern shows up consistently. People who avoid social media often have fewer friends but deeper relationships. They don't maintain hundreds of weak ties. They invest in a small circle. Research repeatedly shows that relationship quality, not quantity, predicts happiness. 10 real conversations matter more than 1,000 reactions. And here's the twist. Not posting doesn't mean not caring. Quiet people often notice more. They notice shifts in tone, sudden silences, forced positivity. They're not distracted by broadcasting. They're observing. They prefer understanding over attention, depth over noise.
Psychology distinguishes between two forms of self-awareness: public self-consciousness, worrying about how others see you; private self-consciousness, understanding your own thoughts and values. People who don't post lean toward the second. They ask, "How does this feel?" Not, "How does this look?" This creates something rare, an identity that exists without an audience. Choosing not to post isn't about fear. It's about ownership. It's saying, my experiences don't need to be consumed to be real. Some moments lose meaning when performed. A sunset is better when you're watching it. A conversation is deeper when you're present. And achievement feels richer when it belongs only to you. Studies show that people who post less are often more reflective, less emotionally reactive, less dependent on validation. They're playing a longer psychological game. Here's the irony no one talks about. The traits that pull people away from social media, self-awareness, security, autonomy, are the exact traits social media promises to give us. Instead of connection, it built a performance economy. Silence became suspicious. Privacy became strange. Constant visibility became normal. The people who stepped back didn't reject connection. They rejected the terms. So ask yourself this:
What if the quiet ones aren't missing out? What if they figured it out first? At the end of life, no one wishes they had posted more, but many wish they had lived more. The quiet people aren't hiding. They're just living where the cameras can't reach.